catch my breath. With haste.
Yes, I defeated Commander Zhalk, and here's how you can too. Alright, to pull this off, you're going to need a second controller or a co-op player. This allows you to add a second character to the game for extra strategic advantage. Next, we're going to be playing on the maximum difficulty for challenge and rewards. And finally, we're going to be diving into character creation for this strategy. I'm building a Barbarian Orc and a Warlock Dragonborn with Hex as one of her spells, and 16 Strength and 16 Con for my Barbarian Orc here. For the Dragonborn, I did 16 Wisdom and then 16 Intelligence. Alright, for the cantrips, you want to choose Eldritch Blast and Mage Hand. That will come in handy later on. Now that we're in the game, you want to go through this starting sequence here. We want to open the menu for the second player and go ahead and disconnect them, since it's just going to be me playing the beginning section here. We'll party them up, and the first thing we want to do in this first room is make sure we loot everything. And then we want to go to these chests here specifically. This is actually an optional thing, so I'm going to be picking up the chest after I take all the loot out of the chest. There's another chest just up around behind where you started here, and I'm going to take all the stuff out of that as well. And then I'm going to be grabbing all the I'm going to grab all the equipment out of the chest, and I'm going to pick up the chest as well. But you want to make sure to loot everything out of this room just to get the maximum amount of like gold out of it whenever you hit land. And again, grabbing the chests here is really going to be optional for you. Alright, here's a key little tip for you. Whenever you get to the second room and you come to this intellect devourer, you can actually just run the investigation check right now, and I'm going to be doing it on the Warlock because they have better like intelligence and investigation. I did the proficiency with that. But you want to do this and then just leave the room. You don't want to do anything else. Yeah, just leave it. We're going to recruit Lae'zel and then take on all the creatures in this second room here. We're just going to go ahead and take them out one by one. There we go. Easy peasy. And then we're going to just start looting everything in the room as well. Actually got super lucky this playthrough. I ran across a potion of speed, which is crazy. And all of these items are actually going to come in handy shortly here. So it's a good thing to pick up everything. It's not just for gold. We're then going to go on to the next section. We're going to go ahead and kill these two while they're just chilling here. I mean, you still get the XP out of it, so there's no point of doing anything else, and of course we want to loot them as well. I'm going to pick up everything out of this bag. This is optional as well, just like the chests were. And then you do want to pick up that nautiloid little like pink thing as well, for sure. Because I'm a barbarian, I actually get to have the ability to open this thing without using the lithid power, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to pick up Shadowheart as well, so this should max out our party with 4 people. And then after we're done grabbing her, we're going to go ahead and head on over to the next room. We must go to the Helm. I didn't mean to talk to Lae'zel in that one. Yeah, we're gonna pick up Shadowheart real quick. There we go. Alright, we're gonna go to the next room. We're gonna kill the intellect devourer in this room for some extra XP. And actually I got super lucky. I got a critical hit like right on the spot, which was super nice. We're gonna loot everything. I'm gonna pick up the chest in this room as well. Again, very optional thing. And then we're gonna go all the way back to the second room where that other intellect devourer is. And then we're gonna be using the Warlock once again to go ahead and interact with this intellect devourer. And then this time we're going to actually run the medicine check, because we actually get advantage on this check, and because we have Shadowheart we can add guidance to it. So it should be a pretty surefire thing that you get this other companion for the upcoming fight. Alright, this next part is pretty imperative. you want to make sure that you equip all of your companions with some sort of ranged weapon, like the light crossbows here. And of course, equip yourself with a ranged weapon as well. From my understanding, Lae'zel is the only one that naturally starts with like a short bow. So you're going to have to equip everybody else for sure. And that's why you want to dilute that last room there. But after that, we want to make sure we are going to be doing a couple things here. The first thing we want to do is go into turn-based mode, and then we can start summoning our mage hands. We're going to be doing it on our Warlock, because we have our mage hand there, and then we have Lae'zel with her mage hand as well. There's a multitude of reasons that you want to get both of these mage hands out there, and then we want to start dipping our weapons in this little fire as well. So when we start the fight out, we have that advantage of what I think is a 1d4 in damage.
There is work to do.
So we're gonna go ahead and dip all of our weapons in the fire here. Oh, and also we want to make sure we change Shadowheart spells. So we just need really Healing Word. I think I did Cure Wounds by accident. Healing Word's really an extra feature, and the Protect Against Good and Evil is that extra feature. The main thing you want to have is Command. Command and Bless help out so much during this fight. So we're going to go ahead and bless everybody, and I made a mistake here that I want to make sure you guys don't make as well. With my main character, I broke him away from the party, and what I'm going to do is going to use the Restoration, which is pretty much like a long rest. It's going to recover all of our spells, so whenever I send my secondary character inside, you'll notice that I'm going to be pretty far back in the fight. So just make sure you're not making that same mistake that I do whenever I started this fight. I exited turn-based mode, and then I just quickly went through the messages to get into the next room as quickly as possible so that I don't lose any of turns on like the mage hands or the bless or anything like that. And that's actually a good reason right there for the mage hands. You see, I threw an imp at that little dog thing, and as you can see, I am really far back out of the combat, which is super bad. But it does kind of help out a little bit, slightly. If you can get it to work on your playthrough, then it will help you out. And you'll notice that there's actually a lot of mistakes with this playthrough, unfortunately, for killing the like little companions that come up after the Commander Zhalk. But as you saw there previously, I was putting down the chest in the little pathway, and you'll see it again later in the video. I put down all 3 chests in like the little gap leading up to this room, to the Helm, just so when the companions come through, we can kind of sit there and laugh, be like, haha, look, you guys can't get through. You do want to go ahead and send your mage hand to the 2nd floor. Whenever you have the mage hands, they can actually go further into the Helm without triggering the 2nd section of this fight. So that little bulb thing, it will do a lot of like corrosive damage to Commander Zhalk, so that's why I threw it at him. It's just a better of like per round damage than throwing like axes and stuff like that. And when you're in these like higher elevated areas, you want to make sure to jump. And I also made a mistake here. I accidentally jumped with the Warlock the first turn. I should have done Hex the first turn, and I should have done it on Strength on Commander Zhalk. That is an also really imperative thing to get done. And then after that turn, I would have gone over to Shadowheart, and as you can see, I sensed Shadowheart a little bit closer, and then used Command to have Commander Zhalk drop his weapon, which I was very lucky that it was just successful right off the first turn. But because we also got that Restoration, we got our 1 spell back, so even if we didn't get it, we'd still have another turn to give it another try. So you have a couple tries to try and get that right. Alright, now the main objective for the rest of this is really just trying to position your people correctly next to Commander Zhalk, because you really only have about 5 different attacks you can do per round on Commander Zhalk, but you can essentially double that if you have the right crew. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to position all of our people near Commander Zhalk, like I did with the little like intellect devourer there. And then another great tip is you can take your little mage hands and then have them actually move stuff for you. So I'm going to have them move the nautiloid tanks right next to my companions here. And like I said, I actually messed up a bunch on this. So the nautiloid tanks really is just going to benefit if you're trying to kill the Commander Zhalk's like companions. And I'll show that to you in just a second here. So we're going to pepper down Commander Zhalk a little bit, grab his sword, and we're going to go ahead and equip that next turn here. But the main thing we're trying to look for is to push Commander Zhalk. So you can kind of see me push Commander Zhalk and the Mind Flayer, like either one. As long as you can get them away from each other, the main thing about this whole fight is that they are going to go after each other no matter what. So you are always going to have the ability to get like reaction attacks, and that's what gives you the double the amount of attacks you can get per round. So you just do your regular like 4 attacks with them, and every time you push him away, he'll try to move closer right to the Mind Flayer, Commander Zhalk that is, right to the Mind Flayer and try to attack him. So he won't care if there's reactions. It's absolutely insane. It's just the way that the game is scripted here. And we're gonna move the rest of the little tanks there to one of the companions, and then we'll pick them up. And then there's another little tip with the mage hands. If you really want to kind of max out some of the benefit, you can start to throw objects. Like I put down some throwing axes here that you can use to start to target Commander Zhalk. And honestly, a lot of these like little things that I use, I actually end up using later on in most of my my playthroughs for Baldur's Gate 3. Like I just end up trying to use the push method to try and get some reaction attacks, or I will use Mage Hand just so I can move certain items closer to my people and then get them those certain items. At this point of the thought process, what I'm trying to do is now position Shadowheart in a way that she can back up to that area. As you saw just a second ago, I put down some chests in the walkway, like I said before, and I'm just gonna take a hit on Commander Zhalk to see if I can do any extra damage, and then back her up so I can move some of those like nautiloid tanks. So I didn't move the Mind Flayer far enough for you to be able to see the reaction attack on Commander Zhalk this turn. So I just kind of pepper him down a little bit more with some more attacks, and the Mind Flayer tries to do his job too, but it's just awful. And there's another little hint here. So with the mage hands, you can actually put them past the point before the next phase spawns, and a good kind of indicator of how far you can go is actually that little imp there right next to the mage hand. And for this turn also, I'm going to be equipping the Everburn Blade on Lae'zel. And then I'm just gonna, pepper down. Like I said, I did make some mistakes this playthrough. So what I should have done is I should have actually raged that turn, so I can get that extra additional damage next turn. But anyways, we have the mage hands kind of moving up here, and there's actually some more little throwable items. You'll see here in a second that I made a mistake, and I hope you guys don't make the same mistake that I do. But you'll see here in just a second. For right now, we're gonna go ahead and start setting up some of those tanks. Here, I'm gonna send them all to Shadowheart that she can start placing them in the world. And you want to put it kind of on the left side there, and you'll see kind of how I have them stacked up. There you go. You have all of them stacked up just on the left side there, so whenever Commander Zhalk's companions start to come through, they're gonna move to that spot, and then you can just shoot any sort of flame at those tanks and they will explode, doing an average of about like 30 or so damage on the companions, which is absolutely wonderful for this fight. If you're trying to maximize the most amount of XP out of this fight, like prologue section here, then you want to accomplish like a couple things. That is, you want to kill Commander Zhalk, you want the Mind Flayer to be your enemy, so whenever he attacks you, you get the XP of him dying, and then you want to kill Commander Zhalk's companions. It's a hard feat to do in just 15 turns, to be honest, but I mean, it has been done multiple times on the hardest difficulty, so I have faith in y'all to do it as well.
What now?
As you can see, I was successful in pushing Commander Zhalk farther from the Mind Flayer, so I should have raged before I made that attack as well. It is imperative to try to remember to make your rage bonus actions before you start to make any sort of attacks, unlike I did here. And as you can see, this is where my mistake comes in as well. I'm using the Mage Hand to move up some of these items here, like the Void Bulb and the other piece there, to my companions, but I didn't consider that the little like area of effect that I threw there next to Commander Zhalk earlier would actually trigger him, which you will see here in just a second, unfortunately. But for right now, I just made some attacks. You know, try to remember to always dip your equipment if you have any sort of extra bonus actions you can do. And you can see here, I'm taking my reactions now with two of my best melee characters. So they got in 2 additional strikes, and I could have done 3 if I had just positioned this like little intellect devourer. If I just positioned him right before I did the push, then he would have got his reaction attack on him as well. For right now, we're just going to keep peppering them down. As you can see, we're on turn 11, which isn't too bad, and this is where you can see I moved everything right onto that area, so it actually caused all of the items that I brought closer to my companions to explode all at once, which just messed up my whole groove. Unfortunately, I had to use that second winds to get a little bit more health on Lae'zel. There was just honestly a lot of mistakes for this. So, and then there's also a nice little another tip to give you guys here. Whenever you are in this area, in this like prologue area, if you use cleave, from what I've seen, like 9 out of 10 times, the ability just will not hit. Like, no matter what, when you're on these stairs or in the middle area, it just won't hit for some reason. And then, as you saw, my Mage Hand just went right down the middle of the little hole there, unfortunately. So that thing is just glitched out, and you'll see here in a second that I just dismissed the companion, unfortunately. And I also make another mistake you'll see here in just a second, but there you go. That's our second round of reaction attacks, because he's going to move away to try and get closer to the Mind Flayer. And I think because I put the chest there, that first companion that he had actually glitched out and would not move forward at all. So that was that was pretty unfortunate. That's why I say the chests are optional. Like, you really don't have to pick them up. You could run into the same issue I did, which is the companions just won't move up together. You want to try and get both of those little Commander Zhalk companions to move up right where you put the explosive barrels, so that you can hit both of them at the same time, really maximizing the amount of damage you can do to both of them. And the mage hands, you can see, also can push Commander Zhalk, and that's one of the great benefits with using the Hex spell on Commander Zhalk, because it actually gives him disadvantage on any sort of like strength maneuvers, and whenever you're trying to push him, it actually runs against his strength modifier, so if he'll have a disadvantage on those rolls, you're much more likely to push him and shove him around. And as you can see, on round 10, I still, even with all the mistakes I made, I was able to kill Commander Zhalk. The next one to come up was the Mind Flayer. If you don't want the Mind Flayer to dislike you, like right at this point, what you want to do earlier on in the fight before you can kill Commander Zhalk is to activate that second wave of minions, and then push back one of the little like imps into the way back corner, like the way north corner of the ship. And this is my second mistake. So I let both of the companions to actually move forward, or to get past the chests, and they started to go ahead and attack Shadowheart there. So Shadowheart instantly died, unfortunately, where I could have at least had a firebolt thrown onto the explosive barrels to explode at least one of the companions. And then I start to fight off the Mind Flayer at this point, and I try to back up a lot of my people, like Lae'zel, my bonus character, my main character. I try to back them all up to the second phase here, so that it'll just be a fight between the companions and the Mind Flayer, which like semi works. And you'll see in here in a second kind of what the result of all this was. But it wasn't entirely bad. Like, even with the mistakes I made, it wasn't entirely bad. So if you guys, actually execute this correctly with all the hints and tricks that I've given you throughout this video, I have complete faith that you guys will most likely be able to maximize the amount of XP you'll be able to get through the prologue. And it doesn't seem like such an important thing, but it does really help later on at the end of the act, because I'm pretty sure if you include this at the end of the by the end of the first act, you'll actually be able to reach, like, I want to say it's level 7 or 8, which is just higher than what you normally would if you just kind of went about doing most of everything through Act 1. And as you saw a second ago, I was using my mage hands to move those explosive barrels because I wanted to try and get it back to my companions and maybe salvage it a little bit more, and then kind of put the explosive barrels next to all three of them and see if we can, get some sort of explosion off and get as much XP out of it as possible. But that was a no-go as well. At this point, I'm thinking of pretty much considering trying to back out of the fight, but this Cambion started to follow me, and I saw that the other companion Cambion was pretty low, so I just started to, somewhat stay in the fight enough for either the Mind Flayer or the Cambion to die off. And I just wanted to focus on the other Cambion, which, I mean, it worked out a little bit. And as you saw, the Mind Flayer died, and I actually got 75 XP from that. And there's one big thing to remember. Before you finish off this area, you want to make sure that you unequip the Everburn Blade from Lae'zel and then give it to your main character, so that whenever you finish the prologue section, you'll be able to get that sword right when you land. And you'll see that here just a second. But you won't really know how to use it unless you're using the right classes with it. So go ahead and check out this next video where I go over all of the weapons and where to get them, and then the best classes for what to use them with.